Hey, it's Mr. Herman. I'm back with another video. This time we're going to be solving a rational equation, and we'll be finding restrictions first on that too. So as a reminder how this works, we happen to have several binomials here in each of these. This one top one there and also over here. And since we have two terms, though, we can cross multiply. Remember when you have three terms you can't, but at this point we're going to go with one with two. It's probably more like what's on the test. The first thing you got to do is list restrictions. Restrictions, remember, are values of the variable that result in undefined expressions in the problem. And if you get undefined expression, which means dividing by a zero. So what values will it take for this denominator to equal 0 and this denominator to equal 0? Remember, you can either set them both equal to 0 and solve them, or just take the opposite of the constant and divide it by the coefficient of x. Here the opposite of the constant is negative 2 divided by 4. That's negative 1/2. On this one, take the opposite of the constant, which is negative 1, and divide by 2, which is also negative 1/2. Coincidentally, they're both the same. They won't always be the same. That's just what happened this time. So now that we got the restrictions listed, remember those are values that if we get those and we're done, then we have an equation that has no solution. So let's go ahead and try and solve it now. To do that, I'm going to cross multiply like this and like this. What this is going to do is multiply these two and then those two. So I'm going to write that all out. So the first one I'll put 4x plus 2 times 4x plus 3. Over here, 8x plus 7 times 2x plus 1. Remember, the order does not matter as far as the order of putting these two. You can switch these two or switch these two. It doesn't make a difference. Now we have two binomials, so we have to FOIL. Everyone's favorite thing to do. And remember, that means you're multiplying the first terms, the outer terms, the inner terms, and the last terms. First, outer, inner, last. We had quite a bit of practice in the class with this, but we're just reviewing it more again now. So it should give us 4 terms total. So the first two are 4x times 4x, which is 16x squared. Outer would be 4x times 3, which is 12x. Inner is 2 times 4x, which is 8x. Last is 2 times 3, which is 6. Over here we've got 8x times 2x, which is 16x squared. 8x times 1, which is 8x, that's the outer. Inner is 7 times 2x, 14x, and last is 7 times 1, 7. Now after that, we're going to take and notice a few things. One of the things I notice is that I've got a 16x squared on both sides. So I can really just subtract that from both sides or eliminate right here. Coincidentally, I also happen to have an 8x on both sides. That usually doesn't happen, but it happened in this case. So cancel that by subtracting 8x from both sides. Let's bring down what we have left now. We got a 12x plus 6 over here and a 14x plus 7 over here. Definitely not any squared terms here, so we don't need to make it equal 0. We're going to solve like a regular equation. So I'm going to subtract 12x from both sides because I want to get the variable in a positive state over on this side. This cancels out, and I get 6 equals 2x plus 7. Then after that, I can subtract 7 from both sides. That gives me negative 1 equals 2x. Then divide both sides by 2. So x equals negative 1/2. Flipping it around there. Anybody notice anything? That's the restriction, of course. So since there's only one solution, and that's the solution we got, that matches the restriction, that means it's impossible to solve this equation. Because if we do say that negative 1/2 is the solution and put it back in place of these x's here, we're going to find we get zeros in these two denominators. And we cannot divide by 0. Therefore, this equation has no solution.